a brief discussions on research and publication ethics. So actually we are going to discuss the research and publication ethics. As we know that research is a formal work. When we go for some kind of research, then we have to follow the certain guidelines for claiming as the scientific contributions. Your research must follow the guidelines of that area, and you have to go for the scientific methods, scientific approaches for considering your work as the scientific contributions. So here you are going to study the different fields of studies in connection with the research and publication ethics. So what is the basic intuitions? So as we know that journal wants to publish honest, reproducible data without data fabrication, falsification, duplication, slamish or plagiarism. So when you go for the publication in some standard journals, then actually whatever experiments you have conducted on some situations, on some certain data, that can be reproduced. If somebody wants to verify whether you have gone for the same result on the same conditions of based on the same data, then they can verify, and this actually we require. And your research should not have any data fabrications. Means you cannot change or omit some research results in order to claim that your hypothesis is good as compared with others. In order to show your work more efficient as compared to others, you should not change the research results, or the research results, those who are not going to support your claim, you should not omit that. Okay, so journals don't want such kind of data fabrication. Also, no journal wants falsification. So in case of the falsification, you cannot just assume that okay, on certain data if you have found the result, then you should not assume that on running on the complete data you will also find the results as expected. So you should not do that. Until you are going to experiment on the complete data, you should not make a claim that on behalf of the incomplete data. Okay, then nobody, if you no journals wants that okay, your results should have the falsification, duplication, slamish or plagiarism. So whenever you are claiming as your scientific contributions, then it should be only your work, only your original work. You should not claim others' work as your work without giving proper citations, proper acknowledgement, without giving the proper acknowledgement of the others' work. You cannot write their contributions, or you cannot write any definitions which is not given by you, and it may be given by some others. So if you want to write, if you need to write the same results or same definitions, those are contributed by some others research community, then you have to give the proper acknowledgement. Without giving proper acknowledgement, it means that you are claiming such materials as yours which is not yours, and this is the kind of research misconduct. So doing any kind of research misconduct will not work in the research area. When you go for the research, then you must not go for this kind of research misconduct, claiming the others' contribution as yours. This is the kind of literature theft. So, and literature theft is the offensive, this is the criminal activities, and you must not go for such kind of activities. Studies in human beings need to comply to international norms for ethical approval and informed consent. Whenever you are going for your research, if you are doing the research on the human beings, then you first know the ethical issues involved in that area. So before going to the research, you must study all related ethical issues on the human beings. So there are some norms, there are some standards which are already given, and you have to follow on doing the research in this field. You have to follow those norms only. Studies need to comply to international reporting guidelines like consolidated standards of reporting trials in the case of the medical fields. STROVE is also guidelines which says that the strengthening the reporting of observational studies in epidemiology. SRQR standards for reporting qualitative research. So these are the standards for certain area, and if you Google, then you will find more standards for different fields. And before going to conduct the research study on those fields, you must know the standards which are scientists have given, the international community has given the standard guidelines for conduction of the research on the particular area of research. So before going to such area, you must know the guidelines. The Singapore statements on research integrity drafted for promoting ethical conduct among scientists around the world at the Second World Conference on Research Integrity, which took place in Singapore from July 21 to 24, 2010. So there was a conference held at the Singapore, and during the conference, the statements related to the ethical conduct was drafted, and the some highlights are honesty in all aspects of research. In that Singapore statement, it is mentioned that honesty in all aspects of research. You must be very honest from inside and outside for doing the research. So you know that whenever you are going to conduct some research, based on your research, the audience may be impacted, some audience may be affected by your research. So you must respect to those for which you must respect all individuals who are going to use your research results. So honesty in all aspect of research, this is in the Singapore statement, and this says that we must be honest from inside and outside once you are going to conduct the research. As we know that on your research, several persons or several societies may be get affected on your research results. So it's your responsibility, it's your accountability to not go for research misconduct. So that's why while you are going to do the contributions, you must be true from inside and outside. So this is highly needed. Accountability in the conduct of research. You must have the accountability in the conduction of the research. You are the accountable. If somebody, what will be the impact? What will be the impact of your research on the society? You are having the accountability on that contribution. Professional courtesy and fairness in working with the others. Whenever you are working in the group, then it's your duty to participate equally. It should not happen that in the group some persons are working and you are just enjoying. This is not ethically right. So whenever you are working in the group, you must participate evenly, you must participate equally, and you should go for you must give the equal contributions as others. So this is needed actually. Good stewardship, job of supervising of research on behalf of the others. So guiding research guidance on behalf of the others. So research guidance is also not an easy job. Whenever you are going to guide, whenever you are going to supervise some research, then you must be aware of that area. You should have the knowledge of that area, and you should have the means you cannot unnecessarily, if you don't know the area, it means that if you are not aware of that area, you should not accept the supervisorship. So whenever you are going to supervise something, it means that you should know well about that area, so that only you can properly guide. And these are the ethics, some ethics given in the Singapore Statement 2010. So what about the ethics in research? You must accept the responsibility to behave ethically towards those who will be affected by your research. You must accept the responsibility. So this is your responsibility. You cannot say that, okay, if on the basis of your results, if something happens, then you should not say that, okay, you cannot get rid from that kind of situations. You must hold the responsibility. It's your responsibility, because it's your research, and on behalf of your research somebody is going to affect it. So it's sole responsibility of the authors. You must know that. So that's why qualification of the authorship is not easy job. You just not claim that it's your contribution until you have significant contributed in that research. So generally, without any contribution, if you are providing some infrastructures to some people, those who are doing the research, or if you are providing some research labs for conduction of the research, or you are providing some environment, then you are not qualified for become the authors. You are not a author. So for being the author, actually you have to qualify of the authorship criteria. This means you must hold the responsibility. You cannot say that, okay, I have just provided the environment, I have just provided the experiment, and I don't know what about this research. This is not. If you have not significantly worked on the research, then you should not give your name as the authorship. Instead, if researchers wants, they can give the acknowledgement, and giving the acknowledgement is always the good things. And the persons, there are a number of persons are helping. Once you go for the research, directly or indirectly, there are many people involved are helping for research findings, and it's your duty to acknowledgement all those individuals from where you have get the support for conduction of the research. Ethics are norms of conduct that distinguish between acceptable and unacceptable behavior. This means we have these certain norms. When you submit some papers, actually reviewers wants to verify whether your contribution fulfills the norms or not, whether you have used the scientific methods, scientific approaches for conduction of the research or not. As you know that research is very highly formal work, and at every stage of your research, you must use some scientific method, you must use the scientific approaches, you must fulfill the norms of the research. In order to conduct the research, you must fulfill the norm. So before publishing your research contribution, it will be checked whether your research contributions fulfills the norms, ethical norms or not. So this is very important. Ethics are the principles and guidelines that help us to uphold things we value. So ethics are the principles and guidelines that help us to uphold the things we value in order to reveal your contribution, in order to give the progress of your contributions. Then we have the guidelines that okay, yes, you have followed the guidelines, and based on these guidelines, based on the principles you have followed, you can uphold the things, you can promote the things. So this is important. Research ethics concerns the responsibility of researchers to be honest and respectful to all individuals who may be affected by their research studies on their reports of the studies result. So it is the sole responsibility of researchers to be honest and respectful. You have to be respectful from all individuals who are going to affected by your result. So say you cannot do the careless jobs. Whenever you are going to do the research, you have to be very responsible and you must respect others, because you don't know on behalf of your results who is going to affect in the future. You don't know anything. So actually question is that whenever you go for the research ethics, and then whatever results you are going to provide, actually you are holding the responsibility and you are respecting the individual, so that on behalf of your result society will get benefit instead of getting distracted, or instead of society may not get the fruitful results, or there any kind of disturbance in the society. It is not expected. You must study before publishing your research, as you have to respect the individuals. Those who are going to study your results, they will be highly affected, and it's your responsibility to see that whether on behalf of your results, whether the people are getting the fruitful results or there is some harm in your result. So this must be taken care by you. So research ethics involves the application of fundamental ethical principles. You have to apply the fundamental ethical principles to variety of topics involving scientific research in the area where you are going to perform the research. In that area, you have to apply the ethical principles for conduction of the research. For claiming as the scientific contributions, you have to apply the ethical principles. Otherwise, it will not be considered as the scientific contribution. Research ethics educates and monitors a scientist conducting a research to ensure a high ethical standard. So on behalf of the research guidelines, you are going to ensure that whether your research is where your research fulfills the high ethical standards. Respect and cause no harm to the participants. So this is the knowing the research ethics. It's very, very important for knowing the research ethics in your particular area. So why it is important? Because respect and cause no harm to the participant. Once you have conducted the research ethically, then there will no harm to the participant. as a sign of respect for others researchers and cause no harm to the participant. So as a sign of respect of others researchers, you have to give the proper respect of the other researchers, and you have to ensure that there must be no harms to the participant. So whenever some researchers are doing the contributions and you are going to improve on that contributions, then you have to give the proper acknowledgement that okay, this researcher has given this methods and I am going to improve this method, or I receive this kind of gaps and I am going to contribute so that this gap may be filled. It is a professional requirement also, and it is a requirement to obtain the funding. So once you have the requirement of the funding for your research, then you must first ensure that okay, your research is going to follow the all ethical standards on that particular area, and you are the responsible person, you have the accountability, and the people, those who are going to affected by your research results, you have studied all aspects that okay, there will not be any harm in the participant. So you have done the careful study before going to pick up the area of research, and if you are able to do like this, then you will be able to obtain the fundings also. Failing to conduct research ethically results in researchers being dismissed or rejected by the research company. If you are not going to follow the guidelines of the research, if you don't have the ethical, if you are not going to follow the ethical guidelines, or there is a ethical issue in your research, then it is very bad things actually. And like if you have the research misconduct, if you have done the plagiarism, if you have done the fabrication, if you have done the falsification, then this is highly not required. And if it is found that you have done this kind of research misconduct, then you may be dismissed or you may be rejected by the research community, even if you are able to publish it anyhow. If you have published the research papers in some standard journals, and later on if it is found that you have done the research misconduct, whatever results you have produced, you have manipulated, and in order to show your hypothesis better as compared with others, then that will be retracted, and this is highly objectionable actually, and this is a highly bad things for the researchers, that if your contribution is being retracted. So if it is retracted, then this is not expected. So see that in the research work you may not go for the big contributions. You may give a small contribution, it's okay, but the contribution must be your original. If you are claiming the big contribution but if it is not yours, then there is a harm, there is a problem, as you are not going to follow the ethical guidelines. So you must know that research, while you are going to do the research, you must be true from inside and outside. You must not go for any research misconduct. If you consider the research ethics, then honesty is the principle which you must follow. You must be honest from inside and outside. Objectivity, you must have clear objectives. Okay, this is the objective of your research, and after completion of this result you are going to obtain this kind of results. So your objective at the beginning, from the beginning also, your objective must be clear and deterministic. You must know that what you are going to contribute, and your research must have the integrity. So you must have you must be actually honest, and in your research, and having the high moral values. Carefulness, whatever you are going to conduct the experiment, whatever you are going to produce the data, you must be very careful. You must use the all scientific methods for producing the results. You need to know the scientific guidelines. You need to know the scientific approaches for conduction of the research. While you are going to give the research results, then you must be very, very carefulness. Openness is the things that as soon as see that whenever you have some contribution, whenever you are going to do the research, and on your research you have found some new information that is not available earlier. So it's your duty that you have to increase the knowledge base. So as soon as you have good result, as soon as you have the result which is not found by the others, if this is your novel approach on some particular area, some particular research, then it's your duty that you must publish it. You should not keep in your safe custody. You have as soon as you are getting the good results, it's your duty to publish in reputed journals, and once you are going to publish in some standard journals, that and on once your contribution is accepted by that journals, then actually your contribution is going to aid into the knowledge base, and in this way we are going to improve the knowledge base. So it's your duty. You don't know that on behalf of your results somebody may give some further contribution, and that may change the way of life, the quality of life of the human beings. So you don't know that on your research it may be very useful for some other researchers to give some nice contribution in order to serve the society better. So that's why as soon as you have got the result, you must publish in order to aid into the knowledge base. Respect for the intellectual property. Always you have to give the proper respect of the intellectual property. You should give the proper acknowledgement of the others' contribution. You cannot steal the information who is contributed by the others. Confidentiality. And as a reviewers, actually, once you are going to review some papers, once some paper is coming to you for the review purpose, until that paper is published in the journals, you must not reveal that findings. You must not reveal that, okay, this is the finding of somebody has found this kind of result. Until the paper is published until the work is accepted and published in the paper, it's your duty that you should maintain the confidentiality and you should not reveal that results. Okay, so this must be take care. Respect for the colleagues. You have to give the proper respects to the colleagues. Whenever you are working in the group, give the proper respect, contribute equally, and do the contribution, participate in the research activity by giving the 100% as per your capacity. Non-discrimination. We don't go for any discrimination here. So whenever you are going to conduct the research, you must know that all peoples are having the equal importance. You cannot discriminate that. Anybody can affected, then it's your duty that you should take care of that society. So you should not discriminate that, okay, you should not think that, okay, we don't care about that particular community or that particular persons. You cannot discriminate. Every human beings, you have to give the equal importance, and you have to pay the respect of every individual who are going to affected by your research results. Social responsibility, it's your social responsibility. So whenever you are going to conduct the research ethically, then this is the social responsibility. Whatever knowledge you have gained till now, and it's your duty that as you are not a common person as compared with others, you have studied a lot, you have good knowledge, you have from several sources you have studied, you have some experience, and based on your experience, actually it's your duty to go for the contribution in order to betterment for the society, and it's your duty to improve the quality of life of the humanity. So research is basically, we are going to conduct the research for making the quality of life of the human beings. So day by day we need to go for the research. It's our duty to contribute as our level best for making the quality of life of every individuals, okay, and we need to improve on that. Ensuring the dignity, safety and privacy of participants. This is also highly important. Ensuring the dignity, everyone is we have to maintain the dignity of every individuals, and we need to take care about the safety and privacy of the participants who are going to affected by your results. National ethical, legal and regulatory norms and standards for research involving human subject, as well as applicable international norms and standards must be adhered to. So whenever you are going to conduct the research, you ensure that you have to follow all regulatory norms, all ethical norms you have to follow, and ethical review should be occur before the study begins and participants enrolled. So this ethical review you have to do before conduction of your research, before start of the research. You have to review it, whether if you are doing the research in that particular field. So on behalf, as your research, while doing the research, you may need some data, and for obtaining the data, is there some ethical issues or not? So you must review before conduction of the research. Say for example, if you are going to do the research where you need to need DNA from the population, from the individuals, then you have to properly review whether you have the permission to take the DNAs, who will give the DNA. People cannot give the DNA until they feel that there is no harms in giving the DNA. So question is that whatever research you are going to do, and for that actually you have to give the proper review before conduction of the research. What kind of data you need, whether on gathering such kind of data, is there some ethical issues involved, and once you are going to gather this kind of information, whether somebody's personal information may be lost or not. So all ethical issues you must review before conduction of the research. It should not happen that later stage you find that okay, on my research this kind of permission is needed, or this kind of ethical issues are there. So you will be stuck there. So before conduction of the research, is there possibility to get such kind of information, or there is some ethical issues involved? You must give a brief study before conduction of the research. Assurance of ethical review, consent is required for the publications. So if there is some kind of ethical issues are there, you give the proper consent that okay, I am going to publish this data, so that this may be the benefit for the society, for the further improvement. So if there is some ethical issues, you must properly, before going to publish the research results, you first take the consent, okay, from where you are going to take the data. So this is very important. So there are some important research ethics area, like authorship is, you know the notion of the authorship, who can qualify the authorship, who can become the authorship, what are the criteria we need to fulfill for being the authorship. Plagiarism, this is the area where you need to know that what is the plagiarism, because sometimes it happens that you are doing the plagiarism unknowingly also. So before going to study, you must know what you mean by the plagiarism, what is meant by the plagiarism, and how to get rid from the plagiarism, how you can give the proper respect to the other contribution. You cannot steal the information. So you need, in this particular area, you need to study all such information. Peer reviews, you need to know the meaning of the peer reviews. Okay, and research with animals. If you are going to do the research with animal, see, whenever you are going to do the research with animals or human beings, it is highly sensitive areas. So what are the ethical issues, what are the standards involved on that area, you need to study actually. And you need to know that the research misconduct. So if you are, what are the activities if you are going to perform, then this will be the research misconduct. You must know, and hence this is one of the area you need to know. So whenever you have the research, it must include the integrity. Your research must have the integrity, which is the use of honest and verifiable methods in proposing, performing, and evaluating the research. Reporting research results with particular attention to adherence to rules, regulation, guidelines, and following commonly accepted professional codes or norms. So you research in integrity, if you say that okay, your research is going to satisfy the research integrity, then you need to be very honest. You need to follow all professional codes, or you need to follow all standards for conduction of the research. So you have the responsibilities, several responsibilities like integrity. So in case of the integrity, researchers should take responsibility for the trustworthiness of their research. It satisfies the high moral values and honesty in the research. Adherence of the regulation, researchers should be aware of and adhere to regulation and policies related to the research. You must apply all policies. You cannot get rid from the policies, and you need to follow all such things which are involved. Research methods should be, whenever you are going to use some methods, it must be scientifically correct. So you have to go for some scientific methods. You cannot use some informal method. While you are going to say as the scientific contribution, then you must follow the scientific methods. Research records. Researchers should keep clear, accurate records of all research in a way that will allow verification and replication of their work by the others. If somebody wants to know, if somebody wants to verify, then they can easily verify. So you have to keep the records of the data on the basis. On behalf of that, you have obtained the result, the conditions of the experiment you have done. All such information you must keep in record, so that in later stage, if somebody wants to verify, they can easily verify. Research findings. Researchers should share data and findings openly and promptly as soon as they have had an opportunity to establish priority and ownership claims. As soon as you have results, it's your responsibility to publish it immediately, so that on behalf of your contributions, some further contribution may be, some further enhancement in that area may be done, and the further addition in the knowledge base may be done. Authorship. Researchers should take the responsibility. In case of the authorship, researchers should take the responsibility for their contribution to all publications. This is just being the author, it's not sufficient. You have to take each and every responsibilities related to the research contribution. Publication acknowledgement. Researchers should acknowledge in publication and the names and roles of those who made significant contribution to the research, including writers, funders, sponsors, and others, but do not meet the authorship criteria. So whoever is going to help in your research activities, it's your duty to give the proper acknowledgement. Peer reviews. Researchers should provide fair, prompt and rigorous evaluation and respect confidentially when reviewing the others' work. If you are going to review some other works, you have to give the fairness. You have to very fairly you have to review the work, and you have to maintain the confidentiality, as you should not disclose the results of that contributions until that contribution is published in some accepted by the journals or published. Conflicts of interest. Researchers should disclose financial and other conflicts of interest that should compromise the trustworthiness of their work in research proposal, publication and public communications, as well as in all reviews activities. Public communications. Researchers should limit professional comments to their recognized expertise when engaging in the public discussion about the application and importance of the research findings, and clearly distinguish professional comments from opinion based on the personal views. So whenever you are going to obtain some professional comments, you must take care about that. Reporting irresponsible research practices. Researchers should report to the appropriate authorities any suspected research misconduct, including fabrication, falsification or plagiarism and other irresponsible research practices that undermines the trustworthiness of the research, such as carelessness, improperly listing authors, failing to report conflicting data, or use of the misleading analytical methods. So it's our duty to report immediately if we can found that this researcher is particularly doing the research misconduct. Responding to the irresponsible research activity. Research institution as well as journal, professional organisms and agencies that have commitment to research should have procedure for responding to the allegations of misconduct. So you are the answerable. You have to give the answers. If somebody is going to claim that and this is the case of the misconduct, you have to give the proper response. Research institutions should create and sustain environments that encourage integrity through education, clear policies and reasonable standards of advancement, while fostering work environments that supports the research integrity. So we have to it's the duty of every institution to provide the healthy environment for conduction of the research. Social considerations. Researchers and research institutions should recognize that they have an ethical obligation to weigh social benefits against risk inherent in their work. What will be the benefit of the society in the with your research? And if something is being harmed, then on the cost of that harm, what is the benefit? You must know about that. So as a conclusion, we can say ethics and integrity are integral to good research and publication, and not an option or regulatory burden. So following the ethical norms, it's not a burden. We should not feel the burden, and also it's not a option. We have to follow. As we are going to go for scientific contributions, we are going to go for some formal contributions. So there is no option to not follow the norms, ethical norms. So it's not a burden. We need to follow the ethical norms, all norms in the area where you are going to work, so that it should ensure that your research result is not going to make any harm to the participants who are affecting by your research results. So it's our duty. This means doing research is highly formal work, and we must be true from inside and outside, and it's our duty to produce the true results. It's our duty to analyze before going to publish our results. We need to analyze on behalf of your results what will be the benefit of society. Is there any harm in the society on your result? If yes, then we should not go for the publication, because we are going to do the contribution, we are going to go for the research in order to make the life of the human being better and better. Means we need to go for the quality of life. We need that every individual should live the quality of life, and we need to improve on that continuously. And this is we can do this only on behalf of the research and development. It's a very crucial job, and it's a very highly important job. It's a very, very important and very, very sensible job, and you are with the full honesty, full responsibility, you have to go for the research contribution. So that's all about the research and publication ethics.